Greetings, Acolytes. Today we get back on topic with the Rogue Trader TTRPG. Specifically, I'm talking about the career that I've been playing for over 2 years now, the Explorator, and why I personally believe it to be one of the best in the game. First things first though, most of you are wondering what an Explorator even is. Even more seasoned fans of 40k wouldn't really know about them, since they mostly take a backseat to the overall setting, but they are a cornerstone of the mechanicus. Explorators, while being largely unknown, are kind of self-explanatory. They are explorers of the mechanicus, those tasked with the sacred duty of discovering lost archaeotech and charting new worlds for the mechanicus' expansion. Explorators are master archaeologists, archaeotechnologists, and astromancers, who have dedicated their lives to studying the past of humanity and the galaxy. They sometimes get their own ships or small fleets, so they can usually go far beyond civilized space, spending years or even decades exploring. Each Forge world usually keeps at least one fleet of explorators exploring for them, so that they can keep expanding their hold over the galaxy. However, you might be wondering now, why is there one in Rogue Trader TTRPG then? Because the other place you can usually find them is working for Rogue Traders. Rogue Traders constantly explore the depths of space, and while they don't always find archaeotech, an explorator's knowledge of space is invaluable when surveying new systems. And of course, they act as good diplomats for the Rogue Trader when interacting with members of the Mechanicus in a more local setting. An explorator with connections can get the Rogue Trader some of the best equipment, if given the chance. An Explorator will always be separate from the rest of their crew, except for the technomats and adepts of the Mechanicus aboard each ship, and even then their skills and knowledge don't compare to the Explorators. That doesn't mean, however, that they won't be valued. A competent Explorator can be the difference between life and death in almost any situation, as it's also their job to keep the ship sailing through the void, instead of turning into a city-sized pile of scrap. But I've talked about their lore enough. Let's talk about their gameplay and the TTRPG itself. As I mentioned before, strength, intelligence, and toughness are your primary stats, and you get 2 free cybernetics at character creation, assuming you have the training to use them. Plus, you can spend some of your starting XP to make them a higher quality, which basically means permanent stat boosts from character creation, and it only gets crazier from there. As you can guess from the Mechanicus career, most of this class's talents are flavored as cybernetic enhancements that no other class can get access to normally. To coincide with this, most of the class's abilities revolve around 2 things: tech use and trades. Let's start with talking about tech use, since you'll be seeing that a lot when you read through the books. Tech use is a skill that a few careers get, but is essential to both the party and is the central part of the Explorator playstyle. Let me read out the description and applications as it is written in the book. Tech use allows the explorer to use or repair complex mechanical items, or fathom the workings of unknown technical artifacts. Using a basic piece of equipment under typical circumstances requires no test, such as using a box caster or opening a shuttle hatch. Tech use tests are necessary for unusual or unfamiliar gear, malfunctioning or broken items, and any situation where the conditions are less than ideal, such as attempting to use the same box caster near a plasma core, or coaxing the machine spirit of a strange vessel's warp drive to reignite its fires. The explorer can also use tech use to repair damaged or defective items, using an extended test of duration and difficulty set by the GM, depending on the item's complexity and the extent of the damage. Tech use does not include building an item from scratch, which requires the relevant trade skill. As I just described, tech use is a skill universal to operating unusual equipment or fixing broken items, which is most of what you'll be doing as an Explorator. You maintain the ship, fix what breaks, and determine the function of unusual items. You are essential to the Rogue Trader and their retinue while exploring unfamiliar places. And talking about that, let's talk about trades. Trades in this game can work a few different ways. They act as something you have an education in, not unlike lores. Unlike lores, however, these can be directly physically applied. For example, trade astromancy. You know the different classifications of stars, planets, orbit types, etc. Or archaeology. You know how to explore, organize, clean, and catalog old ruins. The thing is, that last one doesn't even have to be just you. None of these do. As the Explorator of the party, you will often be second or third in command, next to the Seneschal and the Rogue Trader themselves. As such, you will have underlings to work for you. You will be who the Rogue Trader turns to when they want something mechanical explained, fixed, or understood. Now to some of their other fun abilities. First up, Mechadendrite training, which I'll be honest, you don't need to take, but come on, you're playing a tech priest. Get the fun Doc Ock arms, and have fun being the many-limbed monster that children dream up in their nightmares. The second one worth mentioning is the Flesh is Weak, which grants your character the machine trait with an extra level of it being available at pretty much every rank. The machine trait makes you immune to cold and the effects of drowning or the void of space. It also reduces the amount of fire damage you take by the amount of machine trait you have, meaning it is one of the only ways to negate fire damage, especially if you don't have high agility. Speaking of not having high agility, there's Machinator Array, an enhanced bionic frame, which triples your already impressive mass and makes you sink like a rock. It straight up says you can no longer swim, that's how heavy you are. It also buffs your strength and toughness, dumping your agility in Fellowship, like you were going to use them anyways, and lets you put any pistol you want on weapon mechadendrite mounts. Now I should mention that Fellowship is a tertiary skill for the Explorator. This is because in character, you don't care about people or emotions or appeal. You have logic, knowledge, and skill, the only things that matter to the mechanicus. So much so that there is a talent called the Right of Pure Thought. It is seen within mechanicus culture as ascending to a new level of understanding and becoming an even better tech priest. Why, you ask? Because they remove the emotional parts of your brain and replace them with advanced computers. You can no longer feel emotions, meaning you can't be seduced, scared, or otherwise influenced by emotional factors. This can be hard to roleplay in character, especially if they were expressive and emotional beforehand, and should be considered carefully before taking it, as it isn't required to be an effective Explorator. Now that I've covered some of their fun talents, there's so many more I haven't mentioned, let's talk alternative careers. I've talked about all of them in my other videos, but I wanted to highlight the two Explorator specific ones, the Genitor and the Acolyte of Abraxas. Let's start with something most 40k fans would recognize, the Genitor. These are the masters of genetic manipulation that make new space marines and vat grow your cherubs and servitors, as well as make new tech priests. The Explorator Genitor can take a special talent called a Machine of Flesh, that lets them gain more traits usually applied to certain animals. This also stacks with the normal machine trait, by the way, so you can turn yourself into quite the unique specimen. And speaking of becoming unique, we have the Acolyte of Abraxas. Taking this alternative career does guarantee that every tech priest you meet from here on is going to despise you. But in the Expanse, that's something you can ignore quite a bit, especially because it lets you gain psychic powers by implanting yourself with Xenos artifacts. And one talent in particular, Corrupted Charge, lets you pop people like balloons. It grants you the force quality for a special ranged attack, and if your target fails a willpower roll, they take an extra d10 of damage for every degree of difference between your willpower roll and theirs. In a game where having more than 20 wounds is considered high level, you can see where this starts to break really quickly. Overall, the Explorator is very fun and unusual career to play in the Rogue Trader TTRPG. Like usual, there's a ton of stuff I haven't mentioned because I want you to discover it on your own and enjoy the experience of those discoveries. To me, the Explorator is the epitome of personal perfection, a view that is heavily biased and I will not apologize for it. If you have any fun stories about your own party's Explorator, then please leave them in the comment section below, as the wild stuff that can happen in Rogue Trader games is always worth hearing about. If you've made it this far and enjoyed the video, please consider liking or maybe subscribing, as it goes a long way to giving me the motivation to keep making content for you all. I stream weekly from 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here and on Twitch at twitch.tv/BrotherSenderX. I also have a public Discord, link in the description below, as well as a Twitter account, no I will not call it X, where I post updates about future channel stuff, as well as shitpost about my life. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and take care out there.